Hey, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for being here. So in this tutorial, we're going to go over the analog read serial communication challenge. So you should have already have tried these challenges before you get here, because if you don't, the Russian mafia will probably be knocking on your door. But so we're here, and so let's take a look at what we were doing previously. So before, we had our potentiometer hooked up, and we had a range of 1023 down to 0. And that was kind of how it was. So the first challenge was change the analog pin to A2 and then make the adjustments in the code and in the circuit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this serial monitor window. And then I'm going to change my circuit. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the jumper wire out of A0 and move it over to A2. And then I'm going to come into my code down to the first line of code in the loop function, and I'm going to change analog read from reading pin A0 to pin A2. That's it, not too much of a change. And then what I'm going to do is verify the code, upload it, and then I'm going to go ahead and serial monitor. Okay, and we've got 1023 down to 0. Hey, that looks good. Looks like it's working just fine. Okay, so that was all it took. So you could change that to any of those analog pins, and that's working pretty good. Well, okay, in the spirit of trying to break things, what if we set analog read to one of the digital pins? So what if I just put a 2 in there? Curious what's going to happen. I have no idea. So let's go ahead and verify the code. Well, it compiled all right. Let's upload it and see what happens. Okay, and I'll go ahead and serial monitor. Okay, 386, that's an interesting number. Down to 0, all the way up to 1023. So it's kind of interesting. Looks like it's working just fine, and I changed the number to 2. Alright, well, what happens if we change the number to 9? Let's go ahead and verify the sketch. Well, it verified alright. Let's upload it. It's done uploading. Nothing's smoking yet. Go ahead and do a serial monitor. Okay, so now I'm turning the potentiometer and it's not doing anything. Okay, so I'm just, looks like we're getting about a 390 coming across there. And now that's pin 9. So what would happen? I'm just, I have no idea, but this is what I suspect. I'm going to go ahead and move my pin from, well, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the future and give you the benefit of not having to listen to me ramble on for a while. Because really what I did is I just explored around, and I'll tell you that the assumption that I had there was totally incorrect. So what I did for a couple minutes, maybe more than a couple minutes, was just mess around with moving the jumper wire around, the analog pins, and even to some of the digital pins, while I was also changing the value in analog read. And let me show you what I basically came up with. So normally, we reference the analog pins with A0 through A5, just like they're marked on the Arduino board. But you can drop the A, so you can just reference them 0 through 5. Now also, you can even put a number bigger than that in, and what happens is it rolls over. So you lose 2 numbers in the mix. So if you see this graphic, 6 and 7, they're not going to index to any of the analog pins. But if you put 8 in there, 8 will index back to A0, 9 will index to A1, and 10 will index to A2, and so forth and so on. So I assume that this works past 13, and that you'll continue to drop 2 digits there. Now, is this really useful information? Well, I don't know, but it was kind of interesting to find out, and it's also good to know. I don't know if I think it's semi-useful to know that if you do put a number in there that's not right, something might happen that you just don't expect. It's not going to throw an error. I think that's a good thing to realize. It's not going to throw an error but you might get unexpected results. So you got to be careful with that. So one of the big takeaways here is that I hope as you're doing these challenges on your own that you're also willing to kind of experiment around and really try to mess things up. I didn't have any smoke come out of my board. Nothing too strange happened, but I still felt like I learned some stuff. So, all right, there you have it. Let's move on to the next challenge. So the next challenge was changing out your potentiometer to a different resistance level. So the one I've been using is a 5,000 ohm potentiometer, 5K potentiometer. I've switched it out with a 1 mega ohm potentiometer, so a much larger resistance. And then I also made sure that my code was back set to A0, so I've got my circuit also set back up, so the jumper wire is in A0. All I've done in the circuit then is change the potentiometer. So I'm going to go ahead and verify this code. I'm going to upload it, and then I'm going to serial monitor. And again, to serial monitor, all I do is I press Shift Command M, and that pulls up the serial monitor window. It's a good shortcut key to know. So here we are. I'm going to go adjust potentiometer, and you can see I have got the full range from 0 all the way to 1,023. So you can see it doesn't matter the resistance level of our potentiometer. We can change it to whatever. So why is that? You would think that, hey, we just changed the potentiometer resistance. Wouldn't that change the output of analog read? Well, we got to remember the analog read is reading changes in voltage. Okay, and so we have to think about what a potentiometer actually is. Well, a potentiometer is a voltage divider. So there's a little wiper, and it goes across two voltages. So we'll call one side R1 and another side R2. So as you divide that voltage, as you move that that wiper, the amount of voltage that's going to be seen at the center pin is going to continuously change depending on where you have that wiper. And the voltage is going to get divided on either side of that wiper proportionately, regardless of the actual amount of resistance in that potentiometer. Okay, sounds a little funky. You can look at the further reading. It goes into a lot more explanation, but that's basically how it works. So there you have it. I'm glad you did the challenge. I really hope that you did this challenge on your own before you watch this video. But nonetheless, have a great day. Can't wait to see you at the next tutorial. Bye.